Welcome back to part 2 of Ongea Dada. Remember, we are still talking to a legal expert. We're still getting insights on how to navigate through the succession process. So this process is followed by people who were married customarily, also the Christian way, and whichever form of marriage.
Even Kamwiste. Yes, so long as you can prove you are living as man and wife. Because you see, the old school kind of marriage,
yes,
you know, literally, if I may make it a little bit more interesting, you know, a man's aunties or so would go and see a nice girl who comes,
yes,
Tony, and they're like, this girl actually would do well for our son.
Yes.
And they bring your wife home and you start staying and you have children.
Yes.
See, that's your wife. In as much as you may not have any kind of documentation to prove. So whether you have a certificate or not,
yes,
when it comes to succession, let me clarify, when it comes to succession, it's only then we will be recognized as a wife. But then legally now, now outside the succession scope, you know, there's a time, I may not remember when exactly, but the government issued a directive that all marriages must be registered.
Yes, I remember that.
So for your marriage to be legally recognized, then you ought to have registered. And that's why you find even those of us who are doing traditional weddings nowadays, you know, there's a provision to register that.
Yes,
you actually go through the normal AG process like any other. The difference is that you declare yours as a traditional wedding, not a Christian one or a civil one. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the difference.
Okay. There are also instances where a spouse has left, they have separated, and now when the spouse passes on, this other one now comes back to claim property or something. Are they still?
For the wife, no.
Oh.
For the wife, no. If you had separated at the time of death, it means you are not husband and wife. There are procedures. Again, that brings a whole other topic on divorce, because divorce comes with its own consequences, and property is divided post-divorce.
No, not divorce. For divorce is very clear.
Yes,
yeah, me in Metoka too, I just carry my things and go. Yeah, I live my life, then I hear, oh, yes, but then I come back and start claiming this was my husband, you know.
Now, if the husband's family is wise enough, they'll contest and you won't get anything.
Oh.
Yes. If the husband's family is wise enough, and if they get hold of wise counsel, like if they get a good advocate, they can actually contest, because you're truly not a dependent. If you had left, it means you had established a life away from the deceased. So you're not a dependent.
Okay.
It's as good as a divorce. It's only that the formal divorce, it gets you a document showing you're divorced, and there's a procedure for dividing matrimonial property. But otherwise, if they can prove you are not dependent on that person, then you can be kicked out. So it depends on how aggressive the family will be to good advice. Yes.
Okay. And nowadays we are seeing very young women being left by their husbands. We have a lot of young widows. So at what age do these children, can they access the wealth of their father?
When they attain 18, of course.
Okay.
Because legally, you can't own anything in Kenya if you're not 18. Not even a bank account. You get. Of course, the banks have come up with wise ways of having kids, open accounts, but you see, they are normally linked to an adult somewhere, you know. So until they get to 18, that's when they can access. So
how do you manage this?
They are held in trust.
Oh, they are held in trust.
They are held in trust. So for instance, if the child is supposed to get a piece of land when they get to 18, a trust can be established. Now they need to also, the family also needs to settle on who will be the trustee. And families would be reluctant to make the wife a trustee. But either way, even if the wife is a trustee, there are duties and responsibilities of a trustee. They still cannot mismanage that property, because the family can still sue them for breach of that duty as a trustee. So practically anyone can be a trustee for those children to hold those properties in trust for their kids. When they get to 18, they will be transferred to the children.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right.
So as early as 18, unless there's a will, a valid will that was not contested, because there are people who clearly say what will happen until the kids get to 18, or some even say 25. So they make room for provision of school fees till college level or till whatever level. And then they say post this, now they can manage themselves. So the trust is dissolved and the children pick up the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel there's something we've not addressed. How a widow or someone can access money from the banks, circles. Yes. How do we go about that?
So you remember when we were handling this at the initial stages, I said on the first steps a widow needs to take, one of them was that she needs to notify all the relevant stakeholders and institutions.
So is the
employer, the bank, the circle, and whatever other kind of place, you know, including chamas. You know, there are chamas that even have nice rules and regulations for such kind of unfortunate events. Yeah.
Yes.
So you just notify them. Now, depending on the institution, they have their various procedures for recovery.
Okay.
Some may want the letters of administration, and they see who is actually supposed to get the money.
Yes.
And some, they may award to the next of kin. You remember at some point I mentioned maybe the widow may have been listed as a next of kin.
Yes.
Yeah. So depending on who has been listed as a next of kin, I've seen some circles, so long as you can prove death, and so long as you can prove you are the next of kin, they forego the process of procuring a grant and what, they are covered under the clause of next of kin, because that's the whole essence of having a next of kin.
Yeah, because I'm imagining a situation whereby I have children, they're in school, I probably need school fees, and again, this process takes sometimes even years. Yeah, so how do we wait? Or that
answers it. You can still access. Banks will make it a bit hectic unless you have a court order, in the sense that, you know, banks, again, you know, just trying to cover themselves, because anyone can literally access. And that's one of the things, it reminds me of one of the things that you need to hide vizuri, ATM. Because you see sometimes some people are philanthropic, some people are so trusting, they could have been sending their nephew or their niece to the ATM and they go. So they know the PIN, they know the M-Pesa PIN. So you need, that's what I was saying, you need to secure all the originals, so that you limit access. So including even ATM cards. Kama unaweza pata penye wallet yake ilikuwa, the better, as in just secure, so that to avoid withdrawals. But that does not mean that there is no legal action against anyone who messes up with the property, because that's an offense, and it's called intermeddling. There is a set process for accessing property of a deceased person, and anyone who does not follow that process, they commit an offense, and it's called intermeddling. So you can sue them, and they can be penalized for that. Yeah, so going back to what you had asked, accessing the funds, should you see that for circles you can access, depending on the circle regulations, but for institutions that become a little bit hard, what you do, you initiate succession, and then you get a limited grant. The court can give you a limited grant to manage. I'll give you another interesting situation. Maybe you had rentals.
Yes.
And the money was being used for fees or something. You can request court to give you limited access, limited grant, so that you can be able or be in a position to continue managing the business. Yes, I've just used rentals as an example, because you'd find, maybe you were co-signatories in a bank account that was meant for business, and the day-to-day running of that business. You see, you can't wait for the period utamaliza the succession process for you to be able to give the bank the complete grant. But with a limited grant, you can go to whichever institution and still get things moving. So there is the provision of getting a limited grant. Yes.
That makes sense. Now there's some couples who register things jointly. Now where we had registered our properties jointly, do I still have to go through the same process?
Sure. How do you prove the other one has died?
Oh,
Yes.
okay. But now for that one, we don't have to sit as a family and decide on distribution, because if we own a house together, it's is it written under us? It's registered under our names. Do you still need the family to sit down and decide how you're going to distribute this?
Yes and no. Depending on how stubborn the family is. Depending on how stubborn the family is.
Wow.
Because worst case scenario, it gets to a point and the court orders that all properties be sold and the cash be divided among the beneficiaries. Because you say, for example, when it's a house and they're saying, then as we want our son's portion.
Oh.
It's an eighth of an acre, and they're like, it's gently registered as we want our son's portion. You know, there are people who are that petty, there are people who are that stubborn. So worst case scenario, the court orders that all properties be sold, pesa igawanyishwe, kila mtu apate kakitu. Yes.
Wow. Interesting. So what if there are stepchildren involved?
Yeah, so stepchildren are still children. They could be stepchildren either emanating from the lady's side or from the man's side. From the man's side, it's easy because then again, it's him we are dealing with. So the family is aware they won't bring much of a problem. So they have equal rights. So ideally, they have equal rights. But when it comes to stepchildren on the part of the woman, of the widow, that's where the problem comes in, because you'd find the family saying that, you know, you actually came with that child, that's not our son's child.
Yes.
You know. But so long as you can establish dependency, then they are entitled to equal rights.
Oh, as the other
children
of the marriage.
Of the marriage. They are sort of adoptive, quote unquote, just like you can adopt a child. See, they acquire the legal status of a child in your marriage or in your family. So they are entitled to equal rights, but depending on the dependency rate. Situation where, for example, as a woman, you got married and then you decided you won't go with your child into the marriage, you'll leave them at your rural home or what?
With your mother.
With your mother, then that's a different case scenario. Unless you can show of which
this child dependent on this person.
On the man. Maybe the man was paying fees and you can show there are times he would send fees directly. There are times, like, itakuwa it will be hectic to prove. But if they were staying together and all that, you can get witnesses to that effect. It's good. Like, it's going to make life a little bit easier. That's now for those of us who have not found ourselves in that unfortunate scenario.
Okay. So sometimes we become, do I say segregated, or when probably the spouse, the husband dies, you probably don't maybe you cut ties with the family, or the ties are not as close as they were before. Now this family, the widow and her children, are they entitled to ancestral or the family property or family land?
Yes. If the son was supposed to inherit from their father, the children will receive it. Not you as the wife.
Not the widow, the children.
Not the widow, the children. Of course, traditionally, yes, it's the children who are catered for, because that's supposed to protect the lineage of that departed son.
Yes.
You get? So they are still entitled to ancestral property.
So as a widow, if you feel you're being sidelined, you have a right to contest for your children to inherit,
to be included,
to be included in
their grandfathers.
In their grandfathers.
Yes. You can contest for that. Yes.
Wow. Interesting. Sometimes we have seen people marry across the nations, across intermarriages. How do we deal with such in succession?
Okay, so there are situations, of course, where ladies opt to get married to foreigners.
Yes.
Depending on where they reside, it will, the major determinant there is where that foreigner stayed, where that foreigner resided. That's where the law will apply. And then secondly, what type of property are we talking about? Did they get to a point where they acquired movable property or removable property? So if they got immovable property, then it's the law of this land that will apply. So you will have to do succession here in Kenya.
Even if they were not citizens, they were not Kenyans?
Yes, because there's a way foreigners can own land. That's
Yes,
a whole other topic. Yeah,
Oh,
but there's a way foreigners can own land. Foreigners can have shares in companies. Foreigners can have cars. Yeah?
Yes, they do.
Basically, they can. There's a way, in one way or another, they can get hold of property.
Yeah.
So they can. The succession will be conducted here. But in the event that succession is conducted in their original country,
Yes.
that grant can be registered here in Kenya. Like, it can't come and operate here immediately. You have to still go to court and say, look, this person died.
Yeah.
They are not residents here, but they had property here, but succession has already been done in this and this place. So we are requesting that this grant from this country be endorsed in Kenya. Now, it's only after it has been endorsed that it can operate. You get?
Yes.
But then there are limited countries that can, whose grants can be endorsed. Like, it's limited to the Commonwealth countries and the countries which, of course, the Attorney General authorizes. So they are listed. So if it so happens that your country is not among those countries, the Commonwealth or the ones listed by the AG, then you have to apply for succession afresh here, as though nothing else happened elsewhere. But of course, at the back of your mind, you know, the mode of distribution is as per the grant issued in that country. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's this. It's a slight difference, but that's it. Yeah, so they can still process the letters of administration even for a foreigner, so long as they had property here and they were residing here. And if the succession was done in their country of origin, depending on whether it falls under the category that has been listed, the grant can be registered and then you proceed to implement. If the country is not recognized, you apply afresh.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And sometimes you might discover that your spouse, your departed husband or spouse, had financial liabilities or debts. Are they passed on to you, or how can you handle such?
Well, they are passed on to his estate. His estate. So if he has some assets, those liabilities will be recovered from those assets. So they won't be passed on to you as a person, but to his estate, to the extent that that estate can recover the liabilities. You understand?
Yes.
So let me take, for example, if it's a bank, when they were issuing a loan, your spouse had a car solely to his name.
Yes.
And used that car as security. So the bank will go for that car. The bank can't come and say, now Liz, you are the surviving spouse, pay me this money. No, they can't come for you as a person. They'll go for that deceased person's property. Yes, they'll recover from that. And they are still part of the people who can contest a will, or not a will necessarily, even the succession process, just so that their debt can be included there and recognized so that it can be paid up. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So as we wind up, sometimes as widows we are subjected to retrogressive traditional practices. Is there a law that protects widows from such cultural or traditional practices?
Unfortunately, no.
But
that's where the restraining order comes from. You can choose to not be subjected to that. And if it's too much and it's interfering with your space, go get a court order to restrain them.
You are told if you do not do A, B, C, D, you will not participate in the burial.
Go to court, get a restraining order. Yes. Burying him is your right. You can bury them. You are entitled to it. Nothing should stop you from doing that, especially where you do not subscribe to. You cannot be forced to associate in something that you don't subscribe to. So if it is too tough, just don't do it and go to court if kama ni mbaya kabisa.
Yeah, we've heard of wife cleansing, you know.
You're forced to shave your hair.
Yeah, to shave your hair.
You're forced to do just a number of weird things. I've heard about them. I've not literally seen them, but it's not a must. It's not a must you subject yourself
So you can
to that.
stand your ground.
You can stand your ground, get a court order. If somebody says you have to do this, you show them the order. They fail to comply, go to court.
Okay. I forgot to ask about if my spouse probably had properties that I did not know or I was not aware of.
That's an unfortunate situation because then how best can you search for those properties? Yeah, how best can you search for them? And I guess that's where now your passion comes in as a life coach.
Yeah.
Probably as you're coaching as youngsters, you know, we need to encourage good relationships as spouses and avoid such scenarios.
Yes.
Because you leave your property open to anyone to devour it.
Yeah.
So if I'm your friend and I know that you have some property that your wife doesn't know about, I'll practically take it up, depending on how loyal I was to you. Yeah. So it's advisable. Now, for the situations where we don't have any greedy people who know about the unknown assets, normally if they lay open like that for some time, they are now taken up by the Unclaimed Assets Authority.
Yes.
You've heard about that, yeah? So the Unclaimed Assets Authority always publishes those properties. So you can just be vigilant, you can be checking, but for how long?
For how long,
you can try, but you can. But for cash, like cash at bank, if it lays idle for some time, you can.
And debtors are like debtors, people who owed the deceased and have probably refused to pay, and where there was no formal agreement. Yeah, like your husband comes and tells you, so and so owes me this much, you know, and upon demise they say, yeah, I owe them and I will pay, but eventually they don't pay. Is there a way, are there any legal action that you can take towards such people?
Yes, when you have the grant, the letters of administration, they give you power to do anything in the estate of the deceased, including recovering debts. So if there's a debt somewhere and you have letters of administration, you can pursue. Of course, the challenge will come in when it comes to proving the debt.
Yes.
So if you can get commitments written as much as possible, the better for you. Yes. If they can be, and I advise people nowadays, unfortunately the society has come to a level where gentleman agreement are not so trusted.
And they're not honored.
They are not honored. Even between brothers.
Even between
siblings.
brothers. Yeah.
Yes. So it's advisable, whoever it is, just get them to get them to just do a commitment in written form so that you have something to hold on to in case of any unfortunate eventuality. Yeah.
This process can be overwhelming, and so what can you do to ensure that this process is successful and even effected in a timely manner? Because sometimes you can, I ran to court and at some point I was like, wacha ikae kwanza, you know, you get tired. Yeah,
it's emotionally heavy.
Yeah, and
it's
draining.
Emotionally heavy and draining. I've personally been through a mourning process, and I understand sometimes you just want to be there and not do anything and not subscribe to anything and not follow up with anything. You just want to internalize. But unfortunately, when it comes to this, it's an in-law situation. It's family we are dealing with.
Yes.
You are dealing with potential dispute from the parents, you're dealing with potential dispute from the siblings, you're dealing with potential dispute from unknown wives and children. Sometimes they're even grown-up children who know they have capacity to contest in their own capacity. So my advice would be get legal help as soon as possible, as immediately as you can. At least get someone to be moving with the process as you mourn, so that as you mourn, you have peace of mind that everything else is still being covered. Probably if you get the best legal help, you'd be assured that they'll only come to you when there is need. Yeah, because if you wait too long, not knowing who you're dealing with, they may not be waiting. They may not be waiting.
Yeah, sometimes I hear people being told, Lia na jicho moja.
Thank you. It's the best kind of phrase that I would, Lia na jicho moja. And that's why I said,
one eye is on the lookout and the other one
is crying. And that's why I said that, it's tough. And that's why I said, if you can hide all the originals as much as possible, trust me. I've experienced a situation where even the clothes of the deceased were gone.
Yeah.
The house was literally empty immediately before even burial. Shoes are not there. Suits are not there. Dresses are not there. And your utensils are not there. So you see, people are aggressive. People don't understand the family needs time to mourn. People don't understand this, the emotional beat. The only people who feel the most affected are your immediate loved ones. And the extended may not understand. Then they'll be like, ni mwenda zake. Let's see what we can get ourselves out of all this. You get? So it's advisable, get yourself the best and trusted legal help as soon as possible. Again, as I had mentioned at the beginning, secure all the originals. If you can get them out of that house, do. In fact, don't keep them. By securing legal and original documents, I don't mean them lock them in your bedroom. You'll find your house turned upside down while you're still processing, because you will not be at the home all the time.
All the time.
You'd be needed probably at the mortuary to confirm a few things, to process a few things. So the home will be left open to vandalization. I've seen such situations. I've heard of such situations. So securing original documents doesn't mean keeping them there. Take them out of that home and to a person who's not even known. Say, for instance, if you're here, don't even keep them in your Nairobi office. Find that friend who is not known. Find that advocate. Find someone. Not necessarily means find an advocate. For the purposes of securing your documents, find a trusted person who is not known and accessible. Like, don't make it. And then something I was forgetting. Be as discreet as possible. Because at this point you don't know who to trust.
And you're very vulnerable.
Don't even tell your kids, because kids are access points. You know, kids, somebody will definitely go and, they'll just buy your child some sweet. They'll get that heart-to-heart talk with your child and like, see, please, they'll just find a way. So, where did you see mommy with any documents? Yes, she had them this day. And then where did she take them? She went and gave them to auntie so and so. It's still, it beats the whole purpose. So in as much as we need to talk, in as much as we need to get time to mourn, also be wise. Be wise, be discreet, even to the siblings, even to the parents, even to just, I don't know. And above all, depending on the faith you subscribe to, just trust God to guide you through the process and to give you the wisdom.
Before that, how when a widow decides to remarry, okay, of course the Bible allows, so I'm sure the law allows. So does this spouse have any, does the widow still have a right to claim the property of the deceased husband? Or no, how does it play now? How does the law play when a widow decides to remarry?
Well, remarriage, if the property had not been divided yet and there was no will saying that you as my widow will receive this, unfortunately you may be locked out. Remember, I think we had addressed it earlier, and we were saying in an event where you leave, you separate and go, or you are divorced and you go, and there's no dependency at the point of death, or even post-death, and then you have literally moved on minus. So it's only the children who will be catered for. But you as a wife, depending on how lenient the family will be.
If we had finished the process.
If you had finished the process, you have your property, you have subdivided the way.
So I can move to marriage with this,
with your property,
with my property.
Yeah, it doesn't hinder. Because say, for example, if you were supposed to get a parcel of land, you were supposed to get a house, and you have followed through the process, officially, even at the lands office, the property has transferred to your name. It's yours. Unless you're holding it in trust for your children.
For your children.
If you're holding in trust for your children, then your duties as a trustee still apply until that property is inherited by the children when they get to the agreed age. But if the property was supposed to be yours, the process is complete and you're moving on, Jibambe.
Asante, thank you so much for your time, for just coming and sharing this information. Is invaluable. We really appreciate. Maybe you can share your final remarks.
Well, I had already shared my final remarks. We are more than willing to help you, and we trust that you will get, in these unfortunate situations, we trust that you will get the best help possible. And I am personally available, of course, through Liz. You need more specialized help, or you need specific help, you need a private meeting with me, just contact Liz. I'd be more glad to assist you. Thank you.
Asante. So there you have it. You have heard it from an expert. Get the legal help that you need as soon as you can. And remember, even as you're mourning, you need to move with speed, and it's very important to secure your interests and those of your children. So I hope this was helpful to you, and thank you so much for watching. God bless.